Hello, welcome back. Aloha. So I want to say, like, doing these videos has been so useful to me, particularly because it's kind of put me in a position where I have to articulate how I'm feeling inside. Because I guess awareness is very much an inside journey. It's very much going in and turning the light on. And talking to you has meant I'm turning the light on and looking around and describing what I see, sharing with you the experiences and feelings I'm having. And in that way, it's kind of solidifying it for me. And it's also, secondly, it's helping me understand it at a mental level, at a conscious mental level at that. And thirdly, it's kind of helping me increase my awareness and making me dig deeper. I mean, it's a very deep well. I mean, there's so much that you could go into. So it's been great sharing in this way for me also. Um, yeah, so I'll crack on with today. Today, I wanted to talk to you about thoughts. It's a very big subject. I'm going to give you sort of the high level of it. Before I do, I'd like to refer you back to the previous video where we talked about emotions. So we said emotions are basically a range of feelings that humans experience, and those feelings result from a thought that is believed or energetically charged. So we have lots of thoughts. We take thoughts that we believe in and energetically charge them, and they become an emotion, also known as energy in motion. That's what emotion is, isn't it? Um, so, so that's an emotion and that's a thought. So where do these thoughts come from? First of all, what is a thought? Um, a thought, in simple terms, for me, is I guess our mind providing, processing and providing information on everything that's going on around us, everything that's not going on around us all of the time. So that's what a thought is. It's information that is being given to us about things that are happening and things not happening. The reason why I say things happening and not happening, because sometimes it's in our imagination, sometimes it's background, sometimes it's in the forefront. Now, where do they come from? So we have these thoughts, information, data from our mind. Where does it come from? The best explanation I can come up with is from nowhere and everywhere. The reason why I say that is because it's from nowhere in the sense that it could be from our imagination or our perceived past or projected future. So it just kind of materializes as a thought, a dream, whatever it may be, and everywhere, because there are some context, in the sense that it comes from all the information we've ever received, all the data, all the conditioning, everything you've been exposed to, every experience you've had. All of that provides context from which our thoughts are produced. So I hope those are nice, neat, general kind of explanations of thoughts. Obviously, it's a very huge, huge concept to grasp, but in simple terms, it's our processing information that gives us the thought, and it comes from nowhere and everywhere, because although there is some context in some aspects, it also could be imagined also. Now, I think on average, I think humans process or emit from 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day on average. So us humans have a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. some of the stuff is very, or actually the majority is very background, um, and very little are we sort of like processing consciously. And actually, this is a very good tool to show you how unaware we are of all the processing, the inner kind of workings that are going on right here and everywhere. So now that we know we have a lot of thoughts, I mean, they come from everywhere and everywhere, nowhere. There is a context behind it. I wanted to bring that into how the subconscious and the conscious mind processes thought. Okay, so we've mentioned this before. The subconscious mind is all of the information you've ever consumed, all of the experiences you've ever had since birth. So it's all the adverts you've seen, all the things you think, you haven't seen or you don't remember. Everything is within that. All that information is in there, in, I guess, not, I don't want to say the darkness, but in the background. It's all there. And every day, it this subconscious mind produces many thoughts. It feeds you a lot of information as you're walking around. It feeds you a lot of information about what's going on. And people, like, for example, with adverts, people say, oh, adverts don't affect me, blah, blah, blah. But in the back of your mind, you are processing that image or that advert. And when you're walking around a shop, wherever you may be, your brain will link that to that thing. And even though you might not have a conscious thought behind it, there is some level of programming that takes place. That's why it's so powerful. So yeah, so our subconscious mind, which is the net sum of all our experiences, is constantly feeding us information. I mean, 60,000 to 80,000 bits of data going on each day in each human's mind. I'm kind of glad I'm not aware of all of my thoughts, because that would just be insane. That's a lot of thoughts. But let's talk about now our conscious thoughts. What are they? There's a really good diagram of an iceberg with a little bit of like an iceberg at the top and a huge one underneath. And it's a good way of demonstrating the conscious mind, which is very little, and the subconscious mind, which forms the bigger part of our working, our mental working. So what does our conscious brain do then? How does it produce thoughts? So our conscious brain is the more aware and focused thinking. Now, the relationship between the two, for me, the conscious or aware mind is able to consciously, for lack of a better word, filter what the information that the subconscious feeds. Okay, a lot of the times, a lot of the people are operating at a subconscious level, as a human family at the moment. And there is obviously a level of awareness. Everyone has a level of awareness, or moments when they're aware and utterly present. But a lot of the times, life is very busy on the outside, so it's very, kind of reacting to everything that's going on. But the conscious mind is the focused and aware mind. So when the subconscious is feeding all these thoughts, the subconscious mind, or those who are aware and awake enough to kind of sit back and filter out that information. For example, just say you're walking down the street and you see another person walking. Now your subconscious mind is processing a lot of information and making a lot of conclusions and giving you many pieces of information about that person. It could be based on the way they're dressed, their mannerisms, the color they're wearing. I mean, so many things going on in the background. And if you were to have an interaction with that person, the conscious brain the aware mind would kind of bring you to that moment and see that person as they are, without the biases and prejudices. I know quite often we see people like, hi, how are you, blah, blah, subconsciously, blah, 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 okay, bye. but consciously and presently you can see them and take them as they are and interact with them as you find them, rather than as your perceived kind of, yeah, this is what's going on, kind of subconscious level sort of thinking and operation. So now that we understand thoughts, we understand how the conscious and the subconscious mind interact and kind of process thought, I wanted to kind of link it back to the previous video with emotions. So in the previous video, we talked about how emotions are a range of feelings, and we talked about emotional patterns. So with thoughts and emotions, they kind of have a cyclical relationship, in the sense that so what you think feeds, especially and believe strongly, feeds your emotion, and then your emotions then loop back and feed your thoughts because you're feeling that way. So in real time, you're processing your emotions and producing more thoughts. And quite often, this is how we get into a tiz or overconsumed by a certain type of thought or emotion, because they're feeding into each other. And obviously, they're just going to grow and grow, and sometimes exponentially, to the point where, like I said, we become overwhelmed and overconsumed. A useful tool in such a scenario is awareness, bringing in the conscious mind. You see, quite often people are processing within a subconscious mind everything, so they're only going to be the net sum of their thinking, their programming, their conditioning, and they're going to constantly repeat it, and they're going to repeat it to their children. And and this is where humanity's been going and is at, by shifting to awareness and putting the light on what's going on. We can discern a lot better our thoughts and filter them out. Now, that's with emotion. And with the second thing I'll say about emotion is, an emotion can be like a quick thing and it fades, and that's okay. Sometimes it's a vibe and it's necessary. Maybe you feel kind of strongly about something, and it will too pass. But sometimes we're in a funk, like we're in it. I am an angry person. That's who I am, and I walk around like angry. And then that obviously grows because your thoughts and your emotions are giving you constant confirmation. And the thing with the mind is, what it focuses on is what it becomes. That's what it highlights. That's what it sees. So you become in this endless kind of orbit of your thoughts and emotions. Bringing in awareness, you can start to filter. Now, how do we do that? So again, the quickest way, or the map, the gateway to this, is our emotion and our state of being. So you don't need to sit there and process 60,000 thoughts. The quickest way is to sit down and go, how do I feel right now? Good? Okay, good. Carry on. Bad. Okay, what bad is it? Is it I feel guilty, I feel shameful, I feel angry? And then follow it through to, well, what's producing that emotion? Oh, it's a person, or I'm not happy about this, and so on and so forth. So once you go, okay, so that's the thought that's producing it. Okay, why did I make that decision? Why did I make that thought? Oh, because I've always kind of believed this, or I'm that way inclined, or this has always happened to me. And this is where the emotional pattern aspect of it comes in, because as soon as we're sort of triggered by something, if we've had a strong emotional relationship with something, we can always get triggered by it, because it gets the stronger the emotion, the harder the wiring in the processing data brain. So the best thing to do is to bring a level of awareness, follow your emotion back to your thought, and then take the thought back to as far as it needs to go. Sometimes it's all the way to childhood. Quite often, that's why I guess psychologists always refer us back to our childhood, because obviously those are our early years. That's when we've made our most conclusions. That's when we've made our most, we've taken in the most amount of information and data, and then the rest tends to be kind of a repeated or variation, or at least the way the subconscious mind works. It's kind of similar. There are similarities between our experiences. yeah, so follow your thoughts back to your emotions. No, sorry, your emotions back to your thoughts, and your thoughts as far as they go, even if it's in childhood. And when you get there, take a moment to understand if this is still true. Sometimes maybe you are angry about something, you kept at it, that mood lingered, and you know, kind of grew it and went exponential. And you know, perhaps we could make a different decision now by looking back and reprogramming our mind. We can look back and go, okay, I understand. I don't know, maybe my parents weren't very nice to me. They didn't have very much, or they had their own problems. That's why. Okay, I can understand and rationalize that as an adult and make a new decision, one that's more empowering. Okay, or you know, and also the narratives we carry with us about ourselves are very important, especially at subconscious level, because that's kind of the movie we repeatedly play out again and again and again. Hence why the pattern happens. Now, I will say with patterns, you know, some people go, "That's it, I've had enough," and they think they've broken free. But the thing about breaking free again at a subconscious level is you break free for that moment, but if something, you know, in the future meets you that's similar to an experience you've had, that means that pattern, that emotional pattern, is likely to come out. It's likely to repeat again in a different form somewhere else in your life. So I think it's always good to go back and uncover and unbag and reprogram your mind to make new decisions. This is where you get to be your own best friend. So with the reprogramming aspect, when you bring the conscious brain or aware brain into it, it's able to kind of make that rational response to the subconscious mind and say, "Hey, buddy, it's okay. We had it tough," or "Okay, we feel this type of way about it. We understand it. Let's make a new decision, have a new narrative, and reprogram and move forward." I can't tell you how useful this is, because it really brings about lasting change. You can sit there and try mantra and reprogram yourself in other ways, and there are many ways out there, but I found this to be quite a simple, straightforward way of doing it. But you have to do the work. You have to do the sitting down. So what I would recommend is you take a moment each day, in the morning or in the evening, check in with your emotions and follow it back. As I mentioned in one of my early first videos, awareness, you know, you go through the joy of like, oh my God, I'm awake, the light's on. And then you have to kind of deal with the things that resurface, all those patterns that have been sitting deep in that iceberg. And it's about dealing with them. It's about uncovering them so you can reprogram yourself and live in a better state as a person. Thank you for listening, and have a blessed day. Hope you've enjoyed our chat and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.